China's got a big, fat problem. The kind of problem that money can't fix. In fact, money seems to be making it worse. Welcome to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. China's been getting bigger, a lot bigger. And I don't mean its population size. That's actually been shrinking. No, China's getting bigger this way. And this is a serious problem. Because it's American cultural appropriation. My culture isn't your Halloween costume, China. In less than 50 years, people in China went from eating tree bark, and let's be honest, eating each other during Mao's Great Leap Forward, to binge eating for entertainment. She's about to eat 8 rice bowls, 5 eggs, and 3 ice cream bars in one sitting. And I'm definitely not jealous that she can do that every day and still be skinny. As the average Chinese person's income has increased, so has their waistlines. These days, one study found that over half of Chinese adults are overweight, and that over 16% were obese. Which means we're going to have to update that old fat joke, you have more chins than a Chinese phone book. Because it's confusing since so many of the chins now also have multiple chins. That trend is similar for Chinese children as well. The percentage of overweight and obese children over 6 has been increasing rapidly. And for children under 5, China has one of the highest percentages of children who are obese or overweight. The CCP should have specified that when they said they wanted more children, they didn't mean by volume. If China doesn't do something about it, the overweight and obesity rate for school-aged children could reach 28% by 2030. Now, China's definitely not the only country dealing with this problem. A lot of countries are struggling with obesity, especially America. Although a lot of Americans would say they're not struggling with obesity, they're loving every minute of it. But what makes China unique is how quickly things changed. Like I mentioned earlier, as recently as the 60s, Mao's policies were creating famine all around China. Throughout the 70s, China was ravaged by the Cultural Revolution. It wasn't until the 90s and early 2000s that the average person in China had even a little extra money. So fast forward and fast food to today, and Chinese people are a lot wealthier, but they've also got some first world problems, like obesity. And obesity is breeding a lot of other problems as well. For example, the percentage of people with diabetes has exploded over the past few decades. China now has the highest number of diabetics in the world, after bypassing India in 2011. When it comes to keeping diabetes in check, China doesn't have a leg to stand on account of losing its feet to diabetes. Cardiovascular disease, which are also associated with obesity, are now the main cause of death in China. Or should I say, the main cause of death after communism. That's been the #1 killer in China for over 75 years. The reason Chinese people are getting fat is mostly due to lifestyle. Chinese people live a more sedentary lifestyle than even just a few years ago. For example, in 1991, 60% of the population worked in agriculture compared to about 24% today. More and more people are getting advanced degrees, setting them up for white-collar jobs. And white-collar jobs are often more sedentary. And the economy is so crushing that it's making graduates lie down in protest, which is definitely sedentary, although this planking looks like a good core workout. Since exercise outside of work has been slow to catch on, that just means a lot of Chinese people are eating more calories and not working them off. A review of different studies on exercise in China found that the Chinese population spent a large amount of time on sedentary behavior. And one study from last year on Chinese school-aged children found that the prevalence of sedentary behaviors remained high. At the same time, Chinese people are eating less healthy food. Before modernization, China's diet was mainly based on whole grain-based carbohydrates, with limited cooking oil and varieties of vegetables, infrequent consumption of meat, eggs, and dairy products, and little fried food. That and the occasional person, but since everyone was starving, that was still technically a low-fat meal. Basically, their diet was high in fiber and low in fat, not a lot of calories. But nowadays, the Chinese diet is almost the opposite. People are eating more oil, more meat, and more eggs, and at the same time, they're eating less grain.
我也特别记得我那个小时候，那是当然就是我60年代那个样子，那个7、8岁的时候，家里头过一次年，那真是头一次见到肉那种感觉的。可是现在就不一样了，现在的话，我们的桌子上可能大部分来说，大家是以菜类、肉类为主的这么一个膳食。
Now, junk food and fast food are everywhere, and there don't seem to be any controls on how salty, sweet, or fatty the food can be, and that could have something to do with how chummy junk food giants and Chinese health officials are. The New York Times found that an industry group called the International Life Sciences Institute had gotten pretty cozy with the Chinese government. It's funded by some companies you might recognize, like Nestle, Pepsi, and Coca-Cola. The institute is so cozy with the Chinese government that when the Times emailed China's Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, it got a statement from the China director of the International Life Sciences Institute instead. That's like calling the fire department and getting a message from an arsonist saying, "Don't worry, we're doing great." Fire emoji. That could be why the government's Healthy China 2030 plan promotes exercise, but not healthier food standards. Junk food giants know that making food tasty sells better than making food healthy, and the more they can avoid government regulation, the happier they are. But that's not the only problem. There are cultural factors that make it hard for China to tackle obesity head on. I'll tell you more right after this quick commercial break. Welcome back. If I just disappeared for a second and reappeared, it's not because I have magical powers or anything, it's just because there wasn't an ad there. If you didn't see an ad, chances are we didn't get any money, which is why we have to rely on Patreon for support. Fans can support the show for as little as $1 per episode, and as a perk, I'll answer a member's question at the end of the show. So Chinese society is obsessed with youth and being slim. Just look at how skinny Chinese boy band members are. I would love to be famous in China, but alas, I don't think I could wear that much eyeliner. So as China gets fatter, you can bet that a lot of Chinese people are trying to lose weight, and some of them are turning to some pretty extreme methods. For example, parents are now sending their children to boot camps for overweight children. At these boot camps, the kids are basically forced to exercise constantly, and their meals are closely monitored so they can't get any extra calories. It's kind of like the movie Heavyweights, only instead of a lighthearted, kid-friendly comedy, it's a survival horror. There are camps like this for adults, too. People can pay to be part of a program where they eat, sleep, and work out at a gym. Like the camp for children, they have to exercise constantly, and their food is regulated so they can't overeat. Then there are the dieting apps. For those who don't want to spend the money on a boot camp and have the willpower, these apps have become very popular. They help users plan their diet, stay on a fitness schedule, and some even offer fitness trainers and dietitians. And the Chinese government definitely won't use any of these apps to keep a closer eye on you. Heck, maybe that would be a selling point. You're too self-conscious to eat dessert when you know Big Brother is watching. But Chinese culture has its own remedies for health problems, so some have resorted to traditional Chinese medicine to lose weight. Things like acupuncture, cupping, where suction cups are placed up and down the back, and fire therapy are supposed to help with hunger and stimulate the metabolism. I don't know about you, but if I could have lost weight by setting my stomach on fire, I would be the world champ of eating ghost peppers by now. While many Chinese people are trying to lose weight, the growing obesity epidemic is showing it's not working out. Literally. They're going to need something to stop this. Not even just for their health, but because as an American, I'm sick of them appropriating my culture. Now, I know we talked a lot about how Chinese people are getting fat, but I have another video I'd like to show you about how China is on the brink of a food apocalypse. Aren't they versatile? Check out this video right here for more on that, and click this orange button to support us on Patreon. We rely on your support to keep making great episodes. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.